Jorma Vuoksenmaa, the Major League Baseball has started. It's been roughly 18 games for each team, which is actually more than the regular season in the NFL. In the crazy world of baseball, we are only getting started. It's not too late to talk about your expectations for the season.
Actually, it's quite perfect time to clinch some kind of power ratings because good power ratings take into consideration the raw fundamental data from teams, the lineups, coaching, what we actually showed last season, which of course has strong correlation to the starting season, even with personal changes and if the previous season was over or under performance. And so the last season transfers should be taken into consideration. But on the other hand, nobody, not a human being, is any kind of god against the betting market. So even with a strong and tested fundamental analysis, the market should be respected. So I take into consideration the seasonal betting lines, odds to win the MLB, but especially the seasonal wins over under a certain number of games, which is pretty strong market in America, and it's a good indication of the strengths of the teams when the schedules are taken into consideration. I don't go into that because it's a long story, but to put it short, the seasonal over-under line is another useful indicator. And then why it's better to start to trust to the power ratings first after, say, like 18 weeks like now is, that the first games, 18 games like in our case, are not only a good reality check with the performances, especially hits, but as well with the market performance. It's even better estimate for the team strengths the bets in the individual games compared to that what I mentioned over underline for the seasonal wins. And especially nowadays when one can get very deep and strong market odds from Sportmarket brokerage odds broker service. If one used those pretty good odds comparison sites, one would still get some kind of quite good estimate of the market support for each team and make implied power ratings out of those. But the difference between Sportmarket and even good odds comparison sites is, but in Sportmarket you can always, with small bets or bigger bets, test that the bets actually go through because they are brokers. So you know that those prices are real. But if you check those odds comparison services, there are always those wannabe new betting operators who advertise prices which will never lay a bet or will lay you £20 and then close your account. Right. So now when I learned to use Sportmarket page and then download data and put them into our systems. Now I have kind of woken up to how useful it is to take individual odds information at the start of the season. And I have started to do that even in soccer leagues like Swedish Allsvenskan and Finnish Veikkaus League and those things this spring. But in baseball, of course, it's the strongest because now we can make those how much they bet, how strong Ratings team are, estimates from 18 games and still have something like how much is left?
140 something.
Yeah. So now I have kind of given reasons why that my new philosophy of taking more and more odds information into count, why it's very strong in MLB.
Yeah, I think that's quite interesting for many of our viewers back home, because you're usually known as the man who always tries to go against the public. So
F the market.
yeah. So what is kind of is it the scale that there are so many games that you can kind of, because if you take the numbers from the market, doesn't that mean that you kind of try to find some kind of average, and then the games where you get to play, where you get to bet actually, what are those kind of situations then?
Well, young man, the biggest reason is that when your hair starts getting gray, you get more humble, and I mean, seriously speaking, one should be pretty humble with market. You are of course right when you explained what is our value-seeking philosophy. We want to find those spots where we disagree with market. But my experience in sports betting, 45 years career, has shown that never, even on those old days when the market was not that efficient as it is nowadays, even with the softer markets, worse odds makers, more ignorant crowds, you are never 100% correct, and we are never 0% correct with their odds estimates or our odds estimates. The truth is always somewhere in between those estimates. And in most cases, when I take the market opinion into consideration up to a certain degree, I improve the accuracy of my own odds estimate. And it's better to be humble towards market opinion in this way that you take preseason estimates and especially these previous match estimates. Because if you take just this game we are betting like tomorrow night in MLB, and the smooth our probability estimate and take a few steps toward the consensus market estimate. Another problem is that market might disagree with us with something else than the raw power and class of the teams. And now if we just mechanically smooth our estimate towards market that way, we never know if we are smoothing like for reason of starting picture or weather conditions or what is the mental situation. In baseball it's a huge difference what has happened in the previous games at the homestand and blah blah blah. If instead we smooth our power ratings that way, but we take the whole season. We might make the system even more accurate by giving some weighting more for the most recent games, or use some kind of what are they called, distribution, geometric distributions with that. So, but regardless of the system, the main idea remains, it's better to be humble. I mean, I start with always be humble, and the way to be humble is that system of reacting to the power ratings implied from the individual games. And one more thing about the smoothing, and as a response for a smart question, that what the hell is the logic of, smoothing if we are in the business in order to find value, and overage is. But even if in some cases we might be too humble, smooth our estimates a bit too much, and kind of sacrifice value, that's not a catastrophe, because those games we are sacrificing value are, to start with, a minority. Most cases we go towards the so-called correct estimate by doing so. And even in those cases where we hurt ourselves, we smoothen the curve of our betting capital growth, because we kind of win less in those situations. We should win more, but we don't lose that much, when we go with Kelly criteria to overbet a game where we might have done a mistake. If we go towards the market estimates, the game theorists would say we are playing minimax strategies, where we kind of take care that we don't hurt us too much.
Do you have individual power rankings for each pitcher, for a team with a certain pitcher, or do you go with the general power ranking you have since the beginning of the season? You tweaked a bit and then tweak it a bit more just for that evening for that pitcher?
Again, a very important question. I know that now 1,000 people start laughing and believe that it's impossible to win with my methods, but I have been lucky. Couple of decades I have been betting NBA, and my answer
MLB,
is MLB. Yes. And well, in basketball, my methods are pretty unorthodox as well. But yes, of course, I take pictures into the consideration, but by far with a less degree as the most. And that's not for the reason I would not understand the effect and importance of pitcher and starting pitcher. But the problem is that it takes such a long statistical sample actually to know what is the level of a pitcher. Mm-hmm. And then, for example, ERA is not that good metrics for that. And WHIP is a bit better, but even there are question marks. Mm-hmm. So, I prefer, we are dealing with kind of information which is not exact anyway. Mm-hmm. So why I should cheat myself to put very kind of, strict and clear stamp for a pitcher, because I really can't know. The inexperienced, young ones have very little sample sizes, and the pitchers with a long career start to get half sore for their elbows and these places and thing, and in their cases the track record and performance and the metrics are not necessarily valid any longer if they are going downwards, or in some cases their luck is running out. I'm kind of punk rocker. I kind of provocatively like talking about luck, because for most people, even those smart ones who watch our podcasts and videos, we human beings always underestimate luck. So now I can't make big mistake of taking pictures slightly less to my calculations than the market, because I get paid for that. I always get inflated prices, or I mean positively inflated prices for my advantage, because people overreact.
So so that's the key word, is the overreaction.
Yes,
When you
and even I can't know.
So when you react much less, then basically you don't even have to
be correct.
You can live with the uncertainty much better when you can when the others kind of exaggerate it.
Exactly. You kind of explained it better than I could have been able, and I have some kind of my ratings. When I then start adjusting these starting ratings there, as I explained, the very big part of the weight is depending on the market information, and partly last season performances. Now, the more sports data, match information we get, especially hits, then I adjust the ratings with that. And pitchers with each team, I have some kind of picture what should be those pitcher ratings generally for the team, the starters and the bullpen, and but then if I see from the expected starters a very good or bad starter, I of course adjust the team power rating according to that. But again, I adjust in most cases much less than those people who just I know people who basically don't care at all the teams or the striking and hitting and attacking play, and it's more like man against man, starting pitcher against starting pitcher, and for my advantage, I'm thankful that affects the market so much.
That's good. All right, maybe we discuss what has happened during the recent weeks. Let's start with the top of the table. We're not going through them division by division. Let's take a look at the top performance of the league in general. You probably could not have heard a single MLB video or podcast in the recent weeks without Tampa Bay Rays. They started 13-0 or 14-0. Now they're 14-4. What's your view on them?
What's the view with money I lost betting against them in last? I mean, they are a great team, and but obviously we are not that great team. They have been playing 100 years or so, MLB, and there have been great teams and less competition in those early years, and it's
and it still was. I think that they got tied with the record for the most wins in the beginning.
Yeah, and it's very, very rare, and even with very great starts or sequences in the middle of the season, or on the other hand with very bad starts. In nowadays baseball, it's a rare case a team is actually much better than 60% win percent or much worse than 40. There are teams who end up over or under 60 and 40, but in most cases they have been teams which probably have actually been teams which deserve win record of something like 60, but they have been slightly lucky and won 63. So what I mean is that they are a great team. They are better than I expected. I had them a 55 team in my preseason analysis, and the seasonal win over-unders were pretty on the line with my number too. So we have overperformed my expectation, market expectation. Market has bet them with methods I just explained. The market has bet them, according to the Sportmarket, pretty reliable data. Market has bet them as a team which should be 66% win percentage against the league. Or actually their 18 first game opponents or not. It's difficult because they play many games, but blah, blah, blah. They are market thinks they are 66 team. I thought they are 55. We have won 83. And if I were to guess what is their win record at the end of the season, I would say something like 62, which means that they
100 wins.
Yeah, and I mean, if I guess their end to be 63, it means that the rest of the games, not those 18 played, would be something like 60% win percent. And when I guess how the market will bet them on the next ones, I believe there might be value betting against them, but we'll later in our discussion we'll touch the hits, which are like in football expected goals, bit less fluctuation metrics than the games won or lost or runs given, runs taken. And I would say that it's not only good luck they are in 83% win record, because their hitting and their defensive play, how should I call it, because it's not exact pitching, but preventing hits. I don't go to the errors and
defense in general.
Free from defense in general. So in sports betting, it's always good starting point. Try to find fancied, well-performing teams to go against, but one should not be too stubborn with it. So we'll soon touch other teams which are better teams to lay than Tampa.
Yeah. Before we go into that, interesting to see, actually coincidentally, the teams that the Rays have won are now in the bottom three. If I remember correctly, they have.
We don't have teleprompters, so
Royals. Royals they haven't played, but they played Athletics and Nationals. They started the year against Tigers. When you said that the public has played them as if they were going to win 66% of the season, so does it mean that they would win 66% if they would play only against
similar
them?
team? Yeah, you are right here, and actually it's very good. Now you helped our viewers, our audience a lot, because I mean normally this kind of system, the teams doesn't have that different schedules, and that they would not, they would cause that big inefficiencies. But what you now just mentioned is pretty important, because that is quite big difference compared to the average league opponents. So I mean, I had never discussed about that with you before we started the show, and it was good. Yeah, here you took that point into discussions, because that could mean that the corrected market power rating estimate could be somewhere like around 64s or something, which would then affect to the final estimate of a power rating of team. But you know, I have always been, to be honest, shortage of time, and then when I do that kind of, you know, mechanical numbers crunching systems, I can't take everything into consideration, and occasionally it might take me towards some kind of inaccuracies, like it has definitely taken in that case. And another example is LA Angels, I think, with that one we discussed before.
Yeah, so what we discussed before was that if you look at the odds of single games so far, so the Angels were something like the fourth best team.
Fifth best, and were rated to the 60. But there, you know, the thing is, that was you spotted that, and I found it easy to believe. In the Tampa case, I never mentioned that, found that, and then you know, it goes. It's easier to believe that they are that strong according to the market, because they are in that kind of range anyway.
Yeah.
But Angels kind of, you know, jumped into.
Yeah, I think I was a bit surprised to see when you think about the media coverage the Tampa Bay Rays got for their start. I was surprised how moderate, in a way, the market's reaction was. I think that I would have expected that when you win your 14 first games, so like the odds for the, obviously I think that I would have been closer to bet whoever they played against the Blue Jays, I think, than playing Rays in that game.
I definitely did.
But I was surprised that there wasn't really that drastic change. Maybe the market is even in those kind of extreme scenarios, they are more clever than expected.
It's an interesting point. That would be, you know, worth discussion of 2 hours, especially in totals. Occasionally, in very extreme and rare cases, the market seems to have a grip on me. But but it's interesting,
Yeah. In general, the Rays as a team, they are known for buying and hiring kind of undervalued, maybe players who have been injured at some point. So I've been kind of waiting for them to, and they've done pretty good. They went to the World Series a few years ago and so, but it was heartbreaking that this spring, when I have had much less time to follow or bet on MLB. This was the year when they started.
Blossom up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But hey, let's move on from the Rays to other team. I just talked about the media coverage, and I think now it's funny that even I was kind of shocked would be a wrong word, but when we took a look at these standings and having them, I usually use the MLB app and I see them like divisional standings.
Yeah.
So now that we put them all together, and I saw that Atlanta Braves have won one match less than the Rays, I was kind of like, I didn't know that, and this is, I think,
no sheep on
yeah,
that,
yeah,
even
and
if
I think this is like one more point about the Rays is that I think that if they would have started like 20 wins and 22 losses, and then they would have won 14 in a row. I think, I just said that I was surprised how little was the market change there. But I think that starting something and is always kind of somehow, it kind of gives you the slight hope that maybe this team
of a century.
doesn't
exactly.
lose a single game or something ridiculous like that. But to the Braves.
Actually, when you mentioned that, I don't want to. It's kind of professionalism not to say anything. One doesn't lay bets, but to put it humbly, I might fancy a match bet Atlanta Braves against Tampa, because they have performed that close. The market has rated Braves as a 62 team, which would be not that much after the Rays. I said Rays 66, but when you gave information of the schedule, I would say 64. So before the season, I believed Braves are better than Rays. Now, the actual performances have shown that one win less, and the market doesn't believe Rays are that much stronger. Let's have a look of the performance information there. Tampa has been better when it comes to the hits, so probably it's better not to start saying that Braves are better, but probably we are not that much after the Rays. I don't have my hit statistics here printed out of all the teams, but I would say that Atlanta Braves are a top team, but they probably are not as strong as Tampa, according to that information we have at now. Again, even that information is pretty kind of limited, but we get more and more accurate all the time, and it's good. We go, kind of to squeeze the estimates to the narrower range with using sports information and betting information.
Yeah, and it will be interesting when they start to get a bit more kind of heavyweight matchups soon.
Well, we actually teach much more than kind of normal routine games, because it's obvious that when they play that many games, no team can be with full motivation in each of them. And if you compare teams how they have performed in those divisional games and games against other good teams from other conferences, they are more serious on those games, and that's the reason those games give more accurate estimation of their performance levels than even a big number of those routine games.
Yeah. So what else we had there? Which teams were you willing to discuss?
As a performers, the third best won-loss record at the moment is
The Brewers.
Yeah, the Brewers.
Yeah.
And Brewers started with 59 Jorma Vuoksenmaa power rating, and we have been bet like 62 team. So we are kind of exceeded both market estimations and my estimations. And because I have I have them high as in defensive hits and offensive hits. So that would mean that the probability that they're overperforming of my estimates and market estimates, the probability that they were just lucky is much lower than if a team had the same number of wins but bad hit metrics. So actually Brewers might be for real, and again not a team to start playing hero and trying to get fancy prizes on the underdogs.
They seem to have played quite quality teams.
That's interesting.
They started against the Cubs, but after that they played a series against Mets, against Cardinals, the improved Diamondbacks, Padres, and now they're playing Mariners. Won the first 2 of 3. So
yeah.
Who knows?
That might be enemy. Our respected watchers, we do these things. We don't, we don't have teleprompters. We don't do very strict scripts. It's kind of, discussions of two betting and baseball enthusiasts, and occasionally some important pieces of information just jump up with our discussions, and there'll be a day when we'll have the interactive thing. What is that called? Twitch or
live
something?
Stream.
Well, we can have a live stream. So then it will be even better. But it might be the case that we kind of discovered a team to bet, or at least team not to bet against, when Brewers jumped into the discussion and you even checked the schedule.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that the Brewers, they have very good quality starting pitchers, and then they have some players that kind of, let's say Christian Yelich, he made a huge deal 2 seasons ago, was injured, was quite bad last year, and now when you take a look at the individual players, surprisingly the fantasy rankings, basically they exactly explain the how appreciated a player, how valued a player is or not. So I think I picked Yelich because I think that he was way too low. And now, he hasn't been that good even this season. But I think that Brewers had, again, I did not say this before the season started. But now that they have started with kind of the right foot, who knows what's going to happen?
And it's very interesting, and it's kind of psychology as well, because now with a good or even lucky start, the team gets the self-confidence to fulfill the potential you just mentioned. Another point which kind of jumped with your last comment, that the fantasy football or baseball or whatever hockey sport, it's quite serious game nowadays. People play it well. There is kind of statistics, testing, even books about it, and that have given the fantasy pricings, more and more information value, even for the sports bettors, even if they crosslap partly anyway, and it's not stupid to use fantasy valuations at least as some kind of help when assessing the effect of the lineup changes, transfers, injuries, everything.
Yeah. Good. Do we have anything else on the good teams, or are we going to
I think the good teams are more or less talked then with ranking order of how we have performed. I started my power ratings with Houston 60, Atlanta 59, Dodgers 59, which means that the Dodgers, which are bet like 65 team and performed worse, might mean that
the Dodgers are 500 and Astros are 44 at the moment.
Yeah, so that means that Dodgers might bounce back, but the problem is that the public still likes them because they have still been betting them like 65, but they will definitely improve, but it's up to you to decide if the price is right.
Yeah.
And
in Finland, a phenomena that must be taken into account. I don't know if this is an international phenomenon, but in Finnish media, the teams always have the championship hangover. So, so maybe Astros, maybe if this is an international phenomenon, maybe we could make some money out of that.
Yeah. I have had,
and I have to point out that I don't believe in
I
championship
understand.
hangover.
Yeah. I have had 2 or 3 days hangovers, but not 3 months hangover. So I don't believe in a sense that the team loses a lot of motivation. But what is possible and what might occasionally give some kind of statistical evidence that the teams next season are no good betting objects is that for minor degree, all teams, especially in their home games, they play a bit harder when they face a champion. You know, there are, even among the professional sportsmen, there is some kind of bragging rights. It's always good and nice to kill the champion. And secondly, the market might be 2-3% lower with the champions, which means that championship hangover is not necessarily that much in the win percentage decrease, but the betting returns might be affected slightly due to those reasons I gave. So it's partly, in a sense, it's not a bad idea to bet against the champions, even if they don't have a hangover.
Usually, I think when I discuss sports betting in general with you, betting the underdogs is the way to go. For some reason in baseball, you've said that the edge is in the favorites.
Yeah, it surprised me because first of all, I would think that even in baseball there is a lot of randomness. Even if they play 9 pair of innings, you know, you can always hit a home run and 3 normal runs, and but for some reason there is not that randomness, or it might be that the market bets the favorites accordingly. After saying this, it's a strange phenomenon that quite often at the start of a season, the underdogs are doing well. It might be that the information is not complete yet, or that the favorites can't get all their superiority out because those, things do not fit. Puzzle pieces doesn't fit so perfectly together so early. But even if I watch the stats for this season, again, the underdogs have been doing very well and away sides have been doing very well. And those traditional plus 1.5 run lines, which were a decade and longer ago, profitable strategy, always as a kind of mechanical strategy. And then it died down the strategy. Now it has been good this spring. So that's the general point in baseball, and especially with in the light of what you said, it might be pretty riskful to start betting against Rays, Dodgers, Astros, Braves. So now we have gone through the top teams with one loss record, or with the my estimations and how they bet. So it's more or less like, well, I could shortly mention that both New York teams, Yankees and Mets, have started slightly under my estimations, and Yankees are close with the market. Actually, both are quite close with when it comes to my power rating, pre-season power rating, and how market has bet, but they have not performed that well. If I have a right printout, Yankees have won 10 games out of 17 and Mets 11, and their hit-based performance stats have not been that impressive. So they might be teams to slightly go against, because normally they might have. I was surprised that they were not bet more than that so far, but it might be different. One, we don't have time to touch the over-unders. We might do a different production out of them, but one small point, it was the public tend to bet famous and traditionally good teams more on overs, even if the key for the success have been good pitching and defensive play. And New York Yankees might be good value for. Actually, I have had a pretty bad start of a season so far, but I have done okay with Yankees unders in a couple of situations, and the trend might continue, because if you have a look on their hits, they are pretty okay defensive, but they have been disappointing when in the striking side. But well, now we have covered the top teams from all three angles.
Good. And maybe one thing that crossed my mind when you mentioned the bad-ish start of Yankees and Mets is that, again, a very human kind of fallacy we had there is that when we look at the table at this point of the season, we see that there are plenty of teams in front of the Mets and the Yankees. But then when we start to think that actually they're playing .61
Yeah, they are so close.
baseball. So that's like if you finish the season with .61, you're actually pretty happy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. A very good point. And even after 18 games, very of course much more.
But let's go to
players.
the teams that unfortunately can expect to lose 61 percentage or something like that.
They're quite often the values there. So go on.
Yeah. I think I've heard often that it's very difficult to win 100 games and it's very difficult to lose 100 games. But this year's Athletics, I think that I might be overreacting, but I feel for some reason that I don't want to get my hands dirty with them. Like I'll see.
I didn't get my hands dirty. I got them burnt. And actually, you remember when I called you last week at how bad is Oakland, and because I had lost too much on Oakland. Yeah. But then, when you mentioned that might be bad, and actually you could repeat the reasonings.
They have the useful. Yeah. So basically, for people who have followed less baseball in recent years, Oakland and their owner have some kind of bad blood between the city and the team, and they want to move it to Las Vegas. That's at least how I've understood it.
It's like Dalakur at Dala. But go on, it's a different story.
So then now they are not investing in the players at all.
Yeah.
And I don't know, they are not losing on purpose, obviously, but let's say that they are not trying that hard to win.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I kind of stopped betting on them or against them because it was you explained me how strange situation is, but after now they can look on their hit statistics and some other indicators. I might start betting on them again because those extra searches I made would suggest that they don't have those normal marks for Murhanhuon, a really bad team, and the thing is their hitting has not been that bad on offensive side, but we have allowed a lot of hits against them, which might of course mean that they might be a decent over bet on those games against our weak teams. But normally it's hard to get value on betting over on the bad team matches because the market overweights of the part of the probability field where the favorite wins with a blowout.
Yeah, and then when I was thinking about the ownership of the team and so on, that's again probably something that the media likes to write headings
more into.
But then when we think about that, there's actually players who play for the living, for the family, and so on,
and pride and
their future in the league and so on. I think that one very interesting statistic in baseball, the wins above replacement. That's one way to rate the players. So basically, if your player gets injured, you take someone from the minor league. That's called a replacement player, and their win against replacement would be 0 on average. And then if you have a better major league player, they might be 6 wins above replacement for a year. And which basically means that the worth of that player in 162 games would
very
be
logical.
So that system is based on an idea that with a completely replacement level team, you would get something like 43, 45, something between 40 and 50 wins, I think. And now when we see that what the athletics are on the pace to 23 wins or something like that. So obviously, like if we believe at least a little bit in the wins against wins above replacement theory, it would be kind of I don't want to say impossible, but you know what I mean.
Absolutely not. You opened my eyes. If I 2 minutes ago said that I consider of betting, starting to bet on Oakland as well, now I getting really interested of that, and of course I compared the odds and Sportmarket. You can get the best price and compare run line and the money line and even first half lines, which are good if the starting pitchers are overestimated.
So
but
Oakland
I mean that starts to sound like a value bet.
I'm maybe getting my hands dirty here, but I said
both pros and the listeners as well.
We might not have the camera for the next episode, but
Sold.
So the Oakland apparently started with win-loss total of 59.5, which is very bad for a baseball team. Have they actually been worse than that? It just looks so bad when you start like this. But as we just discussed with the Rays, when you start well, people think that maybe they are the team of the century. As the Athletics have started this bad, it makes you think that maybe they are the worst team of the century. But
actually, what surprised me, that and again, a good lesson about how even experienced people overreact. When you lose money and it's 10-0 or 13-3, you think that is really bad. When you take a look on the hits, which is not, I mean, it's bad, but it's not that bad. And that was very good kind of, eye-opener that, how it's as you said, even for a bad team, it's really difficult to keep that bad performance. And of course, if one of my secrets of my success in all of my betting and stocks trading and horse betting has been always think about the possibility for a change, improvement, or that something is starting to go downwards. And if you think about that bad start, as Oakland had, of course there is much more potential to getting better, and even smaller improvements in different parts of the team give bigger up swings on the performance. So athletics is interesting.
It's getting us excited here. We must be the only podcast or program at the moment.
At least not in America, which are very kind of black and white. But I mean, it's funny thing, if I just sat in my laboratory and ended up in that kind of very logical reasoning with you, I would. I think I would just start betting Oakland. And now, when we kind of discuss that in front of the camera, we kind of, in some kind of defensive mechanism, start making humor already before the next week 12-2 defeat.
Other bad teams, which we are about to get excited or not, what you have there?
Well, when it comes to the performances, Kansas City Royals, they have won only 4 games at the Wednesday evening. We are 20th of April now.
19th.
19th, yeah. So then there are plenty of teams who have won 5, but I mean it's too many. We have already quite a long program. So Royals, I don't know if they are that bad. Actually, I expected them to keep 42% win record through the season, so we should actually improve as well. And let's have a look what the market has believed here. Market estimate they have been bet like market has bet them as about 42% team as well, so we might be pretty safe to say that they might have been just unlucky at the start of the season, and they I would go so far that I would say quite clear that they might offer value in the next games.
Yeah. So maybe to conclude our show today, regression towards mean.
Yeah, that's I mean, again you found a good point. I mean, some people think that the regression to mean is that if you sit in the roulette table or take dice here and start throwing here, but if you roll 2 threes, you have lower probability throwing the next 3. That is not the case. Of course, they are independent lotteries, as each baseball game is. But why the percentages go towards the mean is that when the sample size goes up, those even those good starts like 2 threes or Tampa Bay start to lose their significance when the sample size goes up. Tampa Bay Rays doesn't go towards the say 60% win record for that there is statistical tilastotappio on Finnish, the statistical defeat, that's the loss, or that it's due, or the dice is now due to me, not 3. But because that after having 130 games, those 16 are less significant, and because the market reacts to the smaller samples, especially as in these cases where you get the first impression when the season starts. Yes, it's and when the market is on that side, it's always safer to back that going regression towards a mean thing. One more point here, there are really dangerous statements that that martingale system to double your inside stake every time after loss is a winning strategy. Of course, it's the worst strategy in risk-reward ratios one can have, especially on the games where the expectancy is against you. But it's that logic of betting, not increasing the stakes, but betting after losses is less illogical in sports betting, because here we get the prices to our side. In the roulette, you don't get 2.4 on the red after a bad run of reds. And of course, if you got, and if you knew for sure it's a fair wheel, and you have that 50% minus zeros, probably to 1 in odds. So you should bet. And in sports betting, we have that luxury that occasionally we find those underperforming or overperforming teams. And there we should go against market, but as we started, we should respect the market up to a certain degree, and the degree is to use these previous games estimations and take them into consideration when counting the power ratings.
Yeah, I feel that we have done a full circle now.
Yep.
So thank you for
Thank you, and you have good points.
Thank
you
you
for your time.
for the